何？お前はもう死んでいる。
Hey, it's Marvin. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over the uppercut, all right? But before we get started, I want to ask you to please hit that like button so we can bring you more content, all right? So come on, let's get started. You know, stop that. All right. Now, today we're going to go over the uppercut. We're going to start with the lead uppercut. That's what we're going to use most often is the lead uppercut. Certain things will come in where you use the rear uppercut, but from this stance and from this style, a lot of times when we're standing in here on a true boxer stance, what's going to be more prevalent and more accessible to us is going to be that lead uppercut. Because if we look at what we're doing is we're constantly trying to maintain the positioning here to be between us and our opponent. All right, so as our opponent moves, we're constantly always addressing that and adjusting. So a lot of times when we throw the uppercuts, the one that's going to be the most accessible is going to be the lead uppercut. Okay, so what I want to do is maintain the balance and the continuity of what we're doing, and we want to kind of get rid of some of the common mistakes and some of the things that we think are staples or parts of the uppercut that we can really do without, okay? So, the uppercut, for one, is not an arm punch, all right? It's not a distance punch. I've seen people refer to it as a long uppercut. This is not an uppercut. I don't know what I would call it, but it's not an uppercut. And I've seen it over and over, and I've seen people label it as a long uppercut. If you have to throw the long uppercut, it is because you have failed your footwork, okay? And that's the only reason that this would be a viable option for you. So, if you're positioned on your opponent, all right, we're gonna use some imagination here. I don't have anyone in here with me at this point. So, if we're here, and I'm on my opponent, I'm staying on my angle, my opponent's in front of me here. So, if I'm looking to deliver the uppercut and it's open, I'm able to get the situation and get the positioning for that uppercut. It's very easy to deliver when you do it correctly. If you don't put all the elements together, it kind of falls apart, all right? So first off, we are looking to maintain the stability and the balance here, all right? You don't want to lead in and throw an uppercut when your feet are too far apart or you have to lean into it. You don't want to stand back here, lean into the uppercut and come under. You'll see that so often that people feel they have to generate that power by leaning forward and then exploding up. And what they're basically doing, and this is because of how we naturally move, it's not something that is just taught, it's something that is instinctive. What you're doing is you're following your head and your shoulders. So you're dropping your head, you're pulling your head through, and that's where you're generating the power from the uppercut, okay? That's simply because that's how we move. We use our upper body to generate motion, okay? And this is why this style is a lot harder for people to adjust to, because we don't walk this way. We don't move this way naturally. If you were walking down the hall and I asked you to make a right turn, the first thing you would do is turn your shoulders, as opposed to moving your feet in that direction, okay? We don't lead with our feet, we lead with our upper body. That is why it is so difficult for a lot of people to make this transition. But I will say this, it is not uncommon, it's not as uncommon as people think, because if we weren't able to make that adjustment, there would be no ice hockey, there would be no skateboarding, there would be no rollerblading, there would be no surfing, there'd be no snowboarding, okay? If you put on a pair of ice skates or rollerblades and continue to walk the way you do and generate motion the way you do, you'd be extremely unsuccessful. It is why it's so hard for people to make that adjustment initially when they first get on, because they start to move as they are naturally used to moving, and the skates fall right from under them because they're not thinking from the feet up. Once we start understanding how to move from the feet up, it becomes a lot more balanced. So when we're running the uppercut, when you're coming off to throw that uppercut, you want to be close enough to make contact. The form of the punch stays the same. So if you're here and you throw that uppercut, it should not drop any further than right here. From throwing that uppercut, it should not drop any further than right here. You're going to slightly bend your knees to get the positioning of it because you're coming under. But that's it. You're coming from here and the uppercut travels just like this. So once you come from here, now you're leaning here and your hip is going to be what thrusts through from here. And as you come up with your hip and get that motion from here, you step and it's right there. So when you come from here and come under from here, the uppercut comes here and it comes right back. There is no reason to cause you to reach back here or to travel through here. When you see an uppercut that ends up here, it is improperly thrown. Point blank. Okay? So the travel on your uppercut should be from here, here, here. And that's the power. You want to simulate if I had a heavy object in front of me and I wanted to lift it. I would be under it and I would lift it from here. I would be stable, grab that object, and I would lift it. Okay? I would not be very successful if I stood back here, grabbed that object, and tried to lift it here. Okay? Wouldn't do me any good. It wouldn't be very successful. So if I wanted to lift that object, I would get under it here, get my legs under me, get the foundation that I'm looking for, and push it straight up and lift it and come out. Okay? Then you're coming right back so that you're right back in your stance. You should never throw a punch and leave yourself vulnerable. Okay? And if we're doing this correctly, moving from our feet, every punch starts in the true boxer stance and it ends in the true boxer stance. All right?